think I'm live. Hello, it is Sunday morning, the 27th of August 2023, and I am now at part 3 of Joan Grant's book, Eyes of Horus. Joan Grant was a writer of her own far memories, her previous incarnations, and in this life she is Ra, the son of a priestess of Ra, and he is heir to the nomarch of Oryx. Anyway, we are in part 3 here, and it's quite exciting, so I continue. The Gold Armlet is the first chapter of part 3. On my 16th birthday, Father gave me the gold armlet of a captain. I thought that now I should be free to begin that special training, which I hoped would enable me to become one of the Eyes of Horus, the leaders of the Watchers of the Horizon of Horus. It was difficult to hide my disappointment when I found that I had only changed one routine for another. I had no military duties, for though I was the head of the household bodyguard, this consisted of only 30 men. In the other gnomes, whose nomarchs never travelled without armed escort or left their courts unguarded, it would have been considerably larger. One day in every 7 I sat beside Father when he gave audience, and after the first month he let me sit alone, unless there was a decision of more than usual importance to be made. Often I had Kias by my side, for when I became nomarch she would give judgment in my absence. There was little for me to do, as petitioners were not numerous. Only those dissatisfied with the decisions of their headmen came to the nomarch, and of these there were few. I would have asked Father to let me go to Hota Bra to learn those things for which I was so eager, had I not seen how greatly he had aged in the last 3 years. Perhaps it was not he who had grown heavy with years so much as my recognition, which had increased. Whatever the cause, I knew that I could not leave him until he told me I was free to follow my heart. He no longer hunted lion or went wildfowling in the marshes. It was seldom that he worked in his vineyards, and weeks went by without him going beyond his own estate. He withdrew himself and still further from human contact, and sometimes for several days Kiers and I did not even see him, though through the door of his papyrus room we could hear him dictating the history he was compiling, or the monotonous rhythm of the scribe's voice reading from yet another roll. One evening, after Kiers had persuaded him to eat with us instead of having food sent to his own apartments, I tried again to make him talk of the Watchers. He saw my eagerness and said, "Roidan is the one of whom to ask those questions. He thinks the old Egypt can be born again, and will not listen when I tell him that the Watchers must wait for death to see their dreams become reality." I asked him if he minded me listening to Roidan, and he answered, "No, my son, your mother said he was a wise man. It was me whom she loved, but she knew he was wiser than I. Roidan should have been nomarch. He would have been if your grandmother had chosen his father instead of mine." He was smiling as he got up from the table. It made his face look young, uncertain. "I never wanted to be nomarch until I married your mother, and then to make her queen over Egypt I wished that I were Pharaoh." He put his hand on my shoulder and said to Kias, "Soon Ra'ab will be nomarch in my place." When I would have protested, he went on, "No, Rab, you will not have to wait until I die. Scholars live to be old men, and I shall find contentment in the past while I wait for the future. Rodan knows of my intention, and he will tell me when you are ready for my office. Rodan has always been easier to you than I have been, nearer to you than I have been, and that is neither your fault nor mine." Then, without waiting for me to speak, he went out of the room to join his scribe. Perhaps this was the first time we realized how very lonely he was. There was a catch in Kia's voice as she said, "Sometimes, Rab, we laughed at him and said he was an old scholar trying to hide from the present in the past. Do you suppose he knew what we were thinking? Could we have made him happy if we had showed we really wanted him? I shook my head. No, I don't believe anyone could have made much difference, but I do wish we had tried. Kiers and I both hoped that now Father had once put down his barrier of reserve we should be nearer to him, but the next time we met he was as remote as he had always been, like someone smiling at us from the other side of a narrow chasm which neither could cross. Soon after this he told me that I was to go to Rodan, but it was not until the day I left for Hotep Ra that he spoke again of his decision to make me Nomarch before his death. I am sending you to Rodan so that from him you may learn what I cannot teach you. Since your mother's death, I am only the husk of a man. If I had Rodan's wisdom, I should not be content to wait for death. I should use to the full my days on earth instead of letting myself drift onto the current of the years. Had Rodan been Nomarch, he would have found me just a steward, for though I cannot frame new laws, I can see they are administered. Were Egypt tranquil, as in those older days which are held like a fly in amber on my scrolls, I should continue to rule, for I can see that a shuttle smoothly threads the loom when the pattern has been already chosen. I believed it was enough to safeguard the oryx, quiet as an island in a turbulent sea, and until the Blue Death Rodan could not make me see this was not so. I thought to keep pestilence from the oryx in the same way that we reduced the summer fever, by teaching the people to throw open their houses to the sun, to bury all refuse and make sworn enemies of flies and maggots. Our people never have to fear hunger. Their bodies are stronger and more beautiful than those in any other province in Egypt. Yet, when the pestilence came, we could not protect ourselves. If it had not been for you and Kias, for Kias, whose clear eyes saw the Nomarch was an old man, our people would have suffered far more grievously. I have tried to shelter the oryx, but I cannot lead it to victory. That you must do, for you are more Oyabe's son than mine. I knew that once you hoped to be a priest. I forgot that the wise pharaohs were priests in more than name, and feared you would shut yourself away in a temple, as I shut myself in my papyrus room. That is why I kept you so long in the house of the captains, and made you work harder than my son need have done. You know our laws, and from the judgments you have already given in my name, I know you will keep them wisely. You're a trained soldier, and more skilled with arrow and throwing stick even than I was at your age. I never let you or Kias go beyond our boundaries because I tried to bring you up to be content with my way of life. Now it is Rodan and not I who will make decisions for your future, and only time will prove whether I have been unwise. I should like you to marry when you are 17. The Nomarch of the Hair is a distant kinsman. His daughter is a year younger than you, and when I saw her, though she was only a child then, she held the promise of being beautiful. The gnomes are joined, and even Rodan says the hair is not ill-administered. You know I could have appointed Kia's husband to rule after me. But I am well content with my son. Tell Rodan that I should like you to go see the daughter of the Hair. I know whom I am going to marry, and if she is not the daughter of the Hair, the houses cannot be united through me. He was surprised and asked quickly, Who is she? You have never seen any woman of your own rank who is of suitable age, as far as I know. I am sorry, Father, I can't explain. I can only tell you that I do know whom I want to marry. I know her better than I know myself, and I love her. Yet if you ask me what she looks like, or even what her name is, I could not tell you. I saw he was getting angry, and I said desperately, Please understand, Nectar told me that my mother knew she loved you before she knew your name, or who you were. Yours was an old love, and so is mine. His face softened. If you find a woman who is to you what Oyabe was to me, I will make her as my daughter without question. Don't be afraid to tell me who she is. Is she the daughter of one of your soldiers? You never seem to take any interest in women except Kias. Does she know about the girl you've chosen? No, even Kias would laugh at me. Why? Would Kias disapprove of her? I said she'd laugh. And who wouldn't? At a man who is in love with a girl he's only met twice and never except in a dream. In a dream? Yes, and I know that I'm going to meet her soon. I'll never be happy until I do. I'm so frightened that she won't remember me, or at least sometimes I am, though usually I'm quite sure she will. With the disillusion of age, he said, as though humouring a child, let me know when you find your dream, or when you have decided it is better to have a wife who can bear your children instead of one who disappears when you wake. And then ask Rodan to send you to the hare. That was the end of this chapter 1 of the third part of Eyes of Horus.